base is going pretty well.
And welcome back to another edition of Real Estate Roundtable. I'm Rob Moore, and as always, alongside me, Jeff Echo Lichtenstein, owner of Echo Fine Properties. Jeff, how you doing this morning?
Good, Rob. Hey, are you growing a beard out? The stubble looks like it's getting a
I
little
think
longer
it.
today.
I didn't shave a little bit, but I think my light broke, so I don't have enough light on my
Think it's a
face.
light thing?
Yeah, I think it's a light thing, but I am growing a little thicker. Um, so we got some interesting topics today, but I know one thing we want to kind of start off with, Jeff, is if you can look at over, I guess it's over your left shoulder there. It says Best of Palm Beach County 2020,
That's correct.
and then over
And
my
we and let me share my screen here. So we won Best of 2020 Best Brokerage, and very thankful for that. It's, we have great agents and great, the service that we do and how much we care about everything is it really all that was not, it was so fun to see us win that award. And so we're going again for Best of 2021 this year. So I will tell you who I'm voting for in the election. Rob, do you know who you're voting for?
I know who I'm voting for. I early voted too.
Yeah, I early voted too. I voted for Echo.
Wow. So, oh my God. So did I. And you know what? I voted daily. I voted multiple times.
And I'll give you the reasons why for us. And one of them is when you vote for Echo, you are supporting local jobs. So you can go through there's all sorts of fine real estate companies. Keller Williams is located in Texas. Redfin's in Seattle. Caldwell Banker is in, I think, Jersey. Sotheby's is in either Jersey or Connecticut. Compass is in New York. Douglas Elliman's in New York. Remax is, I think, in Colorado. Century 21, maybe Washington State, I'm not sure. Berkshire Hathaway's in Colorado. All these companies, when you support those companies, the local realtor you're supporting, but you're shipping out jobs that are local jobs at the corporate level. And we are a corporation that is located right here in Palm Beach County. So the corporate jobs stay right here at the local level. And you are supporting and creating jobs when you do use us, because we don't ship our jobs out of state. And all these other, they may be a local agent, like a local Starbucks store, but the money and the for the corporation jobs, those are in Seattle. So sometimes you want to look at the local coffee store and support them, and it's really the same way with us. So that is one reason. The other reason is what we do for you, and the way we're set up. We guarantee 57 things for each listing client that we do. That's in writing, and from a corporate level, we are set up where the corporation Echo pays for all the marketing and the advertising, and that's different than any other company out there. So when you hire an agent, that agent has to pay for all the marketing and all the advertising, and if that agent doesn't have the dollars, they have to spend it out of their own pocket. So sometimes that doesn't happen. That's why you don't see full Matterports being used, or night shots, or all the different things, or something like that we're doing here, because that's paid at a corporate level. And it's hard to do, and the agent then is taking their time and they're doing that, where we have all these people, locally behind the scenes that are doing all that for you. So our marketing and our advertising and the amount of things that we can do for each person. And then we've had some great agents. Andrew Levy, one of our agents, donated money for all the local, the Jupiter school system, so everybody could have lunch money. That happened. All of our agents got together, delivered food for the elderly when the pandemic happened. All of our agents chipped in and put together food for Jerry Thomas when a corporate sponsor, pulled out for Christmas.
Presents, yeah, we brought presents.
We did the presents. There's a lot of things that we do community-wise. What we do from a level of, if you're picking apples and apples and looking at benefits that you get from an advertising level, and then that money that's being spent here locally are all good reasons to why to use us. So when you cast your vote, cast it for Echo.
And in this election, Jeff, you can vote more than once.
You can vote more than once. I don't even know if you have to be alive to vote. It's very Chicago rules. Vote early, vote often.
Vote daily. And one last thing, and then we'll get into the topics I really like to say, is that at Echo Fine Properties, Jeff, you've made it your goal and the team's goal to, it's all about local community. Yes, we sell homes, but it's about what's around us, what's in the community, and through our local business profile videos where we go and we actually highlight local businesses and let people know about them. It's just an amazing thing.
We do that for free. So we've highlighted hundreds of local businesses for free and streamed them on our website, throughout social media. That's all highlighted because it's about local. When people move to the area, they're moving to the area. They're not moving for a house. They're not saying I want a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. They are, but they're really first looking at, where do I want to live? Do I want to live in Palm Beach County? And all of our agents, I've had a rule, which when we have, upwards of over 60 people today, but the rule has always been character, and I don't care about anything else first. It's always been the number one thing that we look for in people. What is their character? Because if they have good character, they're going to work and do anything to help you. That's just who they are. So we've been very careful when we add people that they have that quality. And then we look for adaptability, skill sets, and that drive. All those things need to be present. But if the character is not there, we'll pass on it. And I think that's been the best thing that we've done with our company, and it's a real family type of an atmosphere because of that. So that's a little plug on Echo and why you should. That's our stump speech. Why you should vote for us, as they say. So topic of the day today is you're buying a home here, and there's reasons to move to Florida. And besides the warm weather and the beaches and the golf course, restaurants, and the fine people of the state, and there's no income taxes, which is just huge. When you move here, and your income taxes go from 13%, 7%, 8% to a goose egg. It's literally 0% percent interest, 0%. Your tax rate is at 0% income tax, so that's a very big deal. So you get a raise of anywhere probably from 7 to 13.3% just on the taxes and the cost of living here, compared to like an area like New York, and if you decide to go to private school or different things, is much less expensive than a lot of the northern and Midwest or California type of cities. So there's all sorts of reasons and different ways that you're going to save money by living here. But to become a resident, there's a lot that you need to do, and there's a lot of advantages to becoming a resident. The first one is Homestead. So if you get an exception if you're homesteaded, and I'll get into what being homesteaded means, and a lot of this is legal. I'm not a lawyer, but I'll give you the basics, of it. And you always want to consult with your attorney on this stuff. But if you own a property as of January 1st of the year, and you make your application, it's March 1st, although there are exceptions that go into September, or it's either September 1st or somewhere around there, you're eligible for a $25,000 tax exemption. That means that if you own a $25,000 home, you pay no taxes. If your property is worth $50,000 to $75,000, then an additional $25,000 is exempted. So someone who buys a $500,000 home, $50,000 each year is not taxed. So the value from the 50 really goes to 450. Our $200,000 place will go to $150,000. $1 million property will go to $950. So there's $50,000. It used to be 25 only, and then when the market heated up around 2004 and 5, there was something called Save My Homes that happened here, and they raised the exemption, and it gave a lot of reasons to be here. The $50,000 is not applied to school district tax. That was a vote, I remember, that was on the ballot, and it narrowly won, but it gives schools a lot of funding in there, so that part wasn't affected. So when you're here, you get, and you're a resident, you get every year you're not taxed on $50,000. That may not seem much the first year, but after you're here for 10 years, that's $50,000. If you stay in a house for 20 years here in Florida, it's $1 million that you're not taxed on. That's a lot of money. So that there's big savings that's involved with that. And then there's the number of the day today is 3. 3 is and this is big, and so this is a lot bigger than the $50,000. You get your taxes can only go up 3% a year. So what that means is, and this year is a great example, because from this September to last September on single family homes, the average price went up like 9.4%. So if you're homesteaded, your taxes could only go up, your value of it, 3%. So the person who has back to the $500,000 home, their tax number could only be increased $15,000, even though it went up to about $545 in terms of their value. So that's why you see someone will have at times you'll have two homes that are next to each other. One person's been there 10 years, and their taxes on a house that may be worth $650,000 are their taxes are based on $400,000, and the next door neighbor whose home just has been sold is based on $650,000.
Yeah.
And it's a very key tip. Buyers get really confused. If you look at any of our individual listings, there's a spot on the listing where you can go back and look at the history of it. And there's a link to the tax records, and you can see what their taxes are. And you need to check if it's homesteaded or not when you do that. Because people they'll look on the MLS sheet and they'll say what their taxes are, and they think that's what their taxes are going to be. And if they're not homesteaded, if they're homesteaded, that's not what your taxes are going to be. You don't get to inherit their homestead exemption. So a buyer's got to be careful. It's usually around 2% of the value. Although the state keeps it below, average taxes are probably somewhere below 15% of the value, or everybody would file for would protest what their taxes are.
So I have one question, Jeff, because I'm kind of confused on one thing. If I buy a house, do I have to homestead myself? Like, I buy a house that's homesteaded. The previous owner was homestead.
It doesn't matter what the previous owner does. You have to homestead.
I have to do it myself.
You have to homestead it yourself, and there's the rule. There's some rules to that. Let me see if I can manage my way up there.
And for those following along on social media, if you have any questions for Jeff about homesteading or any other needs, just leave your comments below, and we'll answer those questions.
So there's a site, and if you go to there's a piece on our website that will link to all this. But there's Florida residency, and there's rules to what you have for what the exemption is, and this will give you what permanent residency. So a formal declaration of domicile by the applicant recorded in the public records. So you got to go to the courthouse, and a lot of this you may be able to do online today. Yeah. Evidence of the location where the applicant's children are registered, the place of employment of the applicant, previous residency of the state. So there's these 10 things that are here, but there's a lot more than that they say that you can do. You need a driver's license, here in Florida. And then you've got to contest, because when you move from New Jersey or Wisconsin or whatever, they want your tax dollars. So you've got to show that you've been here. And they track it. So you've got to literally be here 6 months and a day.
I was going to ask you that.
And so they look at airplane records. They look at stuff. The big brother is watching you in another state. So you've got to show that other state that you're really here.
I was going to ask you that, because when it comes to the snowbirds, they come down every year. How that works.
Yeah, you can't just say that you're homesteaded, and they're gonna trust you. You've got to prove to the state of Florida that you're homesteaded here, and then you've got to show to your own state that you're not homesteaded there. So if someone has a business, that's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
And then they want that revenue, from you there. So the state sometimes where you're coming from will fight that. So you've really got to show that you do that. So there's all sorts of things to do. If you have a landline, and there's a list of
Electricity, probably. Yeah, I'm sure energy.
A whole bunch of different things. But when you get here, you go right to the courthouse. You follow this list of different things to do. So you want to get this. You want to start showing your utility bill and all this. So 6 months and a day, and that does it. It also, there's other things like when you got to be careful when you're homesteaded too, because you can lose your homestead. You can rent your home every year for under 30 days. If you rent it more than that, you could lose your homestead. But there's an exemption where you can do it like once, but you can't do it in consecutive years, or you could lose your homestead. So you got to be careful because the homestead part of it is tricky. There's also something called portability.
Yes. What is this portability I saw? What is portability?
Yeah. So portability is. And by the way, on the website, we have a link where it says closing homestead and tax costs. And this will go through all sorts of different things. And will give you closing costs, estimators, and it gives you links on where to go for everything for homesteading and all sorts of good stuff. So that's all on our website. So there's portability, and we're not talking about portable television studio, but there's a portability website, and quoting from it. And I'll just read it. If your new residence has a higher market value than your former residence, the portability amount is determined by subtracting the assessed value of the former home from its current value. For example, if the market value of your previous home is $250, but the assessed value is $150 because of the Save My Homes Act, or I must have it wrong, then the assessed value of your home will be reduced by $100,000, and the 3% SOH cap will continue on that portion of your new home's assessed value. If the new residence has a lower market value, then you can transfer a percentage of the previous to your new home. To qualify for the portability, you must establish your new residency on or before January 1st of the second year. So you're probably going, huh?
Yeah. A little bit.
And they acknowledge that. So what you do though is you go into the tax records, and I'll show you an example of this. So if I go to, let's look up a home in here. So if I go to 504 Cocoa Plum Drive, I look that up on the tax rolls, and I hit search in here, and then there's a spot in here where that if you go Portability Calculator, and if you go in there and you say market value is this, and sale price of the home, let's say that this person gets $500,000, and you hit calculate, it shows what your tax value of your portability. So you're instead of you get to keep some of that portability in there. And there's a calculator. It says this calculator is a tool to help you estimate how much you benefit from portability as you think about moving and transferring your assessment cap. Basically, the way I think of it, so you could do this on any home. You figure out where you're moving to, what your selling price is, and then you get what you're getting at. But bottom line with this, to avoid a lot of confusion, because it's totally confusing, is you get to keep maybe half your value of your portability that you can transfer to your next place. So you get to keep some of it. And the reason they do this with the portability is when you get into a market where you get accelerating prices, which is what happened in 2004 and 5, and we're going through some of that now, where we're getting a rush of people. We're getting this major shift where everybody from all the cities in the Northeast and the Midwest are moving here, and we're seeing an increase in prices, and we're going to continue on that way based on the laws of supply and demand, because we don't have that shadow inventory in there. It lets you move. It lets a resident who's already here, who's homesteaded, move and keep some of their tax benefit that they've earned by being a resident in the state of Florida. So that's kind of what portability, that is what portability is. It lets you be able to move so you're not stuck in your house. Because what was happening in 2004 and 5 was, if people's homes values have went up and their values of their taxes are so low, they're moving, their tax value is going up by such an amount, such an enormous amount, they were stuck in their house. Mm-hmm. They literally were stuck in their house. You couldn't make a lateral move. Sometimes people need to make a lateral move. They may be in a 2-story home and they need to really go to a 1-story. So you're getting a lot of older people who maybe had an ailment with their leg, or I mean, these were really serious things, I remember. And people were stuck there where they were in the wrong house for them. It didn't fit their needs anymore. Kids had downsized. They didn't need a bigger house, but they had to live there because they couldn't move because of tax reasons. So this lets you keep some of the portability, pieces to it.
I never knew that. That's very, very interesting.
You don't think about it till you're ready to move. But like Rob, if you move right now, you're homesteaded.
Yeah.
And and then you go to move, well, you start to think about, what are my taxes going to be? And then if you don't check it, you get a shock. So right now we're in that environment, and portability makes it much more easier for people to make moves where they really want to make a move, that it doesn't prevent you to move because the tax burden is such a difference that it's just impossible.
But these are great things to know that I think the general public, maybe just me, but no, I'm sure more people have no idea about, and it's just good to know the information.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know it when they're coming down from, they don't understand. They don't understand Homestead. They don't understand, and a lot of people don't understand portability until it really starts to affect them. But it's shocking to me how many people don't know about portability. And it's been around for a long time, but they're just not aware of it. And I've talked to a number of just intelligent people over the years, and they don't want to move because of that is a reason. Mm-hmm. And then when they're aware of that, sure. And it's easy to figure out what the number is. It's right there. You just go into the tax records, and it will give you, it'll end up giving you the amount. So that's portability. And then there's other pieces on our website that will let somebody figure out like what their taxes are going to be on a closing statement. Oops, give me a second here. This is our closing cost calculator. And most of the closing costs, it'll show what the buyer's closing costs on a sale are. The buyer's closing costs are very negligible. It's the seller. Usually in Palm Beach County, the seller pays the closing costs. So that's dock stamps and title insurance. Title insurance is variable. Either party can pay it. There's also ways, though, and this is really interesting, and we don't see it very often, but one of the tricks that you can do to lower your taxes, perfectly legal and ethical, is that there's no law that says who pays the closing costs, the tax stamps and title insurance. The buyer can pay it. So if you write up at the time of the contract that you as the buyer are going to pay the commissions on the transactions and all the closing costs, the title insurance and stuff, you make sure that you pay the same amount, but you reverse it out so you lower the price. You can lower your price going in and record it at a much lower number. Now that's no guarantee, because when the assessor does it, they're supposed to assess it. So just because you buy it for $500,000 doesn't mean that the assessor, you may buy it below market value or above market value, and the assessor could change that.
Sure.
But that is one trick that you can use that possibly could lower your taxes each year, so it gets recorded at a lower number. You could also take things out, like furniture is always taken out. If you buy a house furnished, you want to separate it out, and there's some rules to doing that so you don't overstate it with what you're doing. You can't have, your sofa that you bought it at it's a $4,000 sofa. The value of it used is not $4,000, so you've got to put it at realistic numbers. But there are fixtures in there, the refrigerator, the washer and dryer. You can separate those out and buy those separately and bring your value down a little bit. So there's different things that you can do to if you really want to get into nitty gritty. Most people don't do it, but those are some things that you can do. It gets more tricky, especially if you're buying a house with a mortgage in it, and you're sometimes better off just leaving that in. But there are some things that you can do to try to lower the taxes. But again, there totally is no guarantee to this, because you don't know what it's going to be appraised at.
And all these valuable tips and things are all located on our website. So I've put the links, Jeff, for a lot of this stuff in the comment section and in the above post. So I mean, the website just has an enormous amount of information that is
Yeah, some
easily
people say
accessible.
there's too much information, but it's what you need as a buyer. When it was designed, the website was to put yourself in trying to put myself in a buyer's shoes who doesn't know anything about Florida or who's moving within, and same thing, information that the seller wants. So there are all these pages. Let me share my screen again on the website that were designed. And if you go like under buyer, so this will tell you 3D buying, it shows that some of the stuff is marketing things that we do for you. There's a what's your home's worth page. There's a page that goes through the buying process. There's frequently asked questions that buyers have. There's a contract section that goes through contracts and ins and outs. If you're interested in country club comparisons, this compares all the country clubs. Condos, it gives you what the pet rules are. Closing, homestead, and tax costs, which is what we're doing today. Insurance and how that works. Financing, how that works if you're moving from Canada or overseas, gives you foreign information, things that you need to know, and how if you're foreign, when you sell, there's some FERPTA rules. There's different vendors that we have we have vetted and recommended. And then the same thing on the sell side, all sorts of things, different closing costs, seller's guide to different things. So there's all sorts of information, lifestyle information, whether you're a boater or you like to be around downtown and diving, lifestyle comparisons, lots of all sorts of different things that are in there that are really useful tools that give you all the answers that you need to know. But it's because we're a local, we're based locally, and we're not, a national company like a Realtor.com or Zillow. They're not going to be able to get into a hyper local market like this and give that type of information. So we're going to know the nitty gritty of what the rules are. And it's different. Like if you go to Martin County, the rules of closing, the standards are different than Palm Beach County. So it all varies depending on where you reside and then what you need to do.
And I just
on a local level.
I just love the information because it's so easily broken down into sections like you just showed. So if you're just looking at insurance, you can just focus on that part and look on the website. And I know when I bought my home, I think it's going on 5 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago, I was first-time home buyer, so I wish I knew half this stuff right now.
There's a lot of things you can do to get your insurance lowered at the time, a wind mitigation report.
Yeah.
Which a lot of them do today, but they used to never do that, and that was an extra in there, but that will bring your insurance costs, possibly down. So there's a series of things on the insurance level that when you're getting your quote, and the other thing on insurance is you've got to not just quote one source. It's because you may have an insurance person that you love who's out of state and doesn't write insurance in Florida, or they write insurance in Florida, but they don't have the best rate. So sometimes you may be with a vendor where you're coming from New York, that's wonderful, but that insurance is not the best. So you've got to really shop around. And then there's another piece that every home has to be insured in Florida. There's something called Citizens. So Citizens will insure anybody for anything. And then there's things you can do over the years that do over time that can get your house lowered so you don't have to rely on Citizens if not. But that's a gap for everybody. Flood insurance we've talked about in the past, but flood insurance is something that I recommend because if you get a storm here, especially that's not a hurricane and that's a tropical storm that's 74 mile an hour winds, and you get flooding in there, flood insurance may pay for that, where a hurricane, but it's not a hurricane, and your hurricane insurance won't. So that's happened. It's happened to people in New Jersey and Houston, where they've had major tropical storms that were close to being a hurricane that weren't. That big one that happened in Houston, and there was all these homes that were millions of dollars of some of these homes that they're totally destroyed with mold and everything.
Yeah,
and they didn't have flood insurance, and it was not a hurricane.
Yeah, I had a friend who lived.
That was that storm that stayed there for like 3 days.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I had a friend, actually an old football coach of mine, who moved to Houston, and he had video. It was so sad. It was he walked into his house and he was waist deep in water, and his furniture was floating and everything was floating, and he did not have flood insurance. So that was not a fun one.
Yeah, but there's dates that you have to keep these dates in mind when you have when you're here, when you buy your home, what the dates are to apply. Mm-hmm. One other thing too, you can contest your taxes. You can contest what the property taxes are, and you'll get your assessment, and then you have a couple months where you can. And there's a website that you can do the assessment on. If anybody needs help with it, be happy to help with it. And you file a petition, and you can contest your taxes. It really, where it takes effect is, we're going through this right now. So where you have a big increase in value, and if something happened, I'd watch that value, because if they put it too high, and you've got reasons why it shouldn't be. For example, condos are not going up at the same rate of single family homes. I'd watch that come next tax season, because if the taxes go way up on your condos and you can show that it's not, or there's a reason that it isn't, you may be able to contest it. We had somebody we helped a few years ago, and this person, what they did was they bought the house wrong. It was a terrible situation, and the person just relied on the number. They were overseas, thought that, well, I'm gonna make an offer, and it was 10% less, and then they settled at that, or 15% less that number, but the person, it's so overvalued. It was a freak situation. And we helped them with the assessment, and they saved something like $6,000 a year off their taxes. So you take that over a 10-year period of time. Yeah. They weren't Homestead anymore. And it ends up being a $60,000 number. I mean, that's a lot of money in it. A lot of times it doesn't work, and the reason it doesn't is your taxes, your market value that's put on there is sometimes 10 to 15% less. So it doesn't make sense. People are angry sometimes about, I'm paying too much in taxes. And I said, well, do you want to pay the market value of you want to pay the value that they've assessed of your home? Would you sell it for that? They have it at 370,
sure,
but it's probably worth 500. Well, no. But so your taxes a lot of times are less. They're really, no matter what, they're a lot less than what they should be.
I mean, again, another wealth of information from Jeff. Just check out the website. You just saw where Jeff went to, www.echofindproperties.com. There's a search bar up top. You can see all the different categories. There's so much information just on there. Every Sunday morning at 9 a.m., we're up with you. And today we got a little extra hour of sleep in, which was weird. But, we're here. We're here to keep you informed. Jeff's here to answer any of your questions.
It's we got an hour of sleep. Does that mean
now it gets dark earlier?
It'll get dark. It'll be darker tonight, right?
Yeah, I think 5:30 probably. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. 5:30 or 6. I hate when it gets dark early. I'm not a fan.
Yeah, I don't like it. I think that's the nice thing about the daylight savings time. At least it saves.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I lived in Chicago, we were right at the edge of the timeline, because in Michigan, on the other side of Lake Michigan, it's different. It was the Eastern time zone, so we were Central. So it would get dark like at 4:15 or whatever. But daylight savings time would be like at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, that is a weird. Yeah, I never thought about that. I remember I went to Notre Dame last year, and we got to Chicago. We went to Chicago for the day, and I was so messed up with time because it was an hour behind, and you go back to Notre Dame, and you're an hour. It was just the weirdest thing in the world.
When I used to travel, I used to travel 30 some odd weeks a year, and I remember going to Chicago, and the weirdest state, I don't think they are anymore, but it's in Indiana. There's parts of Indiana where it was not parts of Indiana, not the whole state, where they had no daylight savings time. So I always had a client in Lafayette, which is where Purdue is. I
think that's true still. I remember hearing about this.
Yeah, so in Lafayette, I would always see the client twice a season. So I always had to be careful, because I would screw up my time. And one time I forgot about it, and I showed up like an hour early. I think it was an hour early or an hour late. I don't know what it was, but it was from the whole time zone, because they were different depending on what it is.
Yeah, it's wild. I found that amazing. What else? Oh, Jeff, go back really quick one last time. I know we're almost done here. Go back to the that vote link. I just want to show something there. Where is
it? Hang on, I got my Zoom thing in front of me. Here we go.
All right, so we just talked about this in the very beginning. Let me pull this bar down here. about voting for Echo Properties. We would graciously appreciate if you would give us a vote. And if you can click on that link, Jeff. So this is on our website. I've put the link in the post here. So when you get to this page, this is the part that gets a little interesting. You have to scroll down, and you're going to find, you're under Homes. See where, just stop right there. Go back up. I don't know where it went. Anyway, it's under Homes, but you're going to scroll, keep scrolling all the way down to H.
It's under Homes?
No, sorry. It's under R. It's under Real Estate.
Yeah.
So keep scrolling down. So there it is. Real Estate Company. Indicate name.
So like what I would do is like this. I'd go.
They're going to go D equals MC squared. Echo Fine Properties. And you can click right on there, or you can, yep. And then you just have to put your email address in.
Like this?
Jeff at echofineproperties.com. And then you're going to hit continue. Okay. And then scroll down. And, I don't know, oh no, hit nominate. So then hit nominate. And you've just nominated Echo Fine Properties for Best Brokerage in 2021. Tell your friends, your family, grandmother, grandfather, aunt, uncle, brothers, sisters, neighbors, friends, clients, whoever, to please give us a vote. Last year we were able to seal the deal, and it's been a strange year ever since then. Jeff, I feel like we were at the award ceremony. We hoisted the trophy. And then coronavirus. It was not much far after that. But
I thought I remember that was in the back of my mind because you were reading about this and and stuff and
yeah, you were. I remember you talking about it.
We were in the limousine. It was just it was a really fun night. That was like our last big night out. I remember.
It was yeah. No, it was because it was at the end of February.
Yeah.
And then March happened, but. We did find ways, like you said, with this virtual world that we're in now, and
there were so many advances we've done with 3D VR. That was a huge advancement, and we're doing streaming all over the place for open houses, and for how we ended up doing the Matterport virtual reality tours for each home. So there was a ton of new technological advancements that we ended up doing on the marketing side and really our industry has changed from like doing closings and mortgages and everything has changed. So there's lots of benefits when we get out of this thing that we'll look back on, where business type change. I think even like with our agents, our training, there's so much more you can do on an online basis that we weren't aware of. Our sales meetings are all, we do these Zoom sales meetings and all sorts of training online. So all sorts of things that we needed to do and you just don't get to, that we've been able to do because of out of necessity. And then and some of it, that part of it has been fun, trying to come up with different innovations and move and be creative.
It is amazing though. Like I think this was something that was eventually coming, but it got pushed forward 5 years quickly or in advance, and here we are. And it's been an amazing ride with this. So we do our virtual open houses every day. We do these real estate roundtables every Sunday morning. And we're still out there. I'm still out there. I was just out this past week shooting a bunch of videos this week. But we have one that's going to be coming up from the Tipsy Salon in Jupiter, where you can go get your nails done, your hair done. You could have a drink or two or three or four. And then we also, I'm not going to give this one away. This one I'm really excited about. We did the Bagel Boys. We interviewed the owners, Seamus and Dennis of the Bagel Boys. And they have a new food truck that's going to be hitting the road. And it's going to offer something we've never seen before when it comes to bagels. And that's all I'm going to leave it at. I don't want to ruin the surprise. That video will be up this week.
They're really smart. We ordered from there. We've done a couple Sundays at Bagel Boys. This is the one you're going in Jupiter, right?
Yep.
And one of the cool things is they have this, when you order from them, they put your food, it's in an outside covered area in a bag.
Yep.
And you just go in, you pay for it online, and you go and you pick it outside. So you don't even have to go into the store. And my guess is that'll happen after COVID.
I think so. Yeah.
Why do you need to go and that was always clumsy in there where you waited in line and the place was a madhouse. and I loved it. It's the best outdoor solution I've seen in COVID.
And the bagels are incredible. And when I spoke to the owners, I asked them, and the question was, how was business? How was it? When he said business it's been fantastic, because they were able to do what you just said. They were able to do that outside service, and people were still able to get their bagels. But that's going to be one to watch for. It's a new thing they have coming with their food truck. I don't want to get into too many details because I don't want to ruin it. I want people to watch the video. So that video will be up this week.
I want to see that. They have great, bagels are terrific, and although there wasn't egg bagels, there were shortage of eggs or something like that.
And they have apparently they have an excellent. I didn't try it, but I will. An excellent Philly cheesesteak sandwich. And the owners are actually from Pennsylvania, so they are Eagles fans also. So that's nice to see.
Yeah, they've got really good cream cheese too. We had a jalapeno cream cheese there. They have all sorts of interesting cream cheese.
They have a wasabi cream cheese.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't try that yet. I was thinking about it. Did you try it?
No, I did not. I had the sour cream, the chive, and so flavorful. It's just
my Jade loves she likes the jalapeno one a lot.
So if you haven't been to Bagel Boys, check them out. Check out the video later this week. We'll post it on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Vimeo, all over the place. And if you have a local business and you'd like it spotlighted or highlighted, you can give me a call, 561-801-6621 or rob@echofineproperties.com. Would love to highlight or showcase your business. Like Jeff said, it is free. So give me a call.
All right, I think that does it.
That's it, Jeff. So everyone out there, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful afternoon.
All right, so long, everybody.
See you later.